Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, those on the other side of the world. We will need our mala today. As usual, we start chill and relaxed and enjoying. One thing at a time. Happy? Life being what it is. It's pleasant to know we can do well with sometimes so little options. Good. Hey, good morning. Miraya, Miraya. Nothing can put us in prison or jail us. Miraya, Miraya. We are free and interconnected. Miraya, Miraya. It flows. Everything flows together infinitely without end. The better you become at transmigration, the more it makes sense, Miraya. Because then your transmigration has no end. What does transmigration mean? Search my YouTube for a video on transmigration. Or Shivagam's YouTube. I think he has a class there. Transmigration is when you're watching a spiritual master with some consciousness and you can feel their energy. That's not just in your head, although I cannot scientifically prove it. My consciousness really goes to you when you pay attention to me. Usually transmigration is personal. If you pay attention to me, I could get it. But it's not a certainty. So if I give a class and I'm not individually paying attention to everyone, maybe you would not feel it. Because to transmigrate, I would have to pay attention to specifically who I transmigrate to, meaning the exchange of consciousness. However, I made a choice as a spiritual master that my consciousness would radiate to whoever pays attention to me. Now, don't make that kind of choice unless you are dedicated to this kind of path. Miraya, Miraya. I practice it in a way, usually I would just do the city Miraya. Just once. The mantra last week is twice, but the city is just Miraya. And I would do this because it's a choice. I will accept to feel something whenever someone pays attention to me. And sometimes it's, thank you so much, Maha. And I feel gratitude out of nowhere. I don't know from who, because it's noise. There's always 100 person thinking about me at a time or feeling something. Angry at me, happy at me. So there's no precision. It's just noise or information. But I made that choice. that I would radiate back to whoever pays attention to me. The weird ones, like, Maha, why did you do this to me? Seriously, you think about me in a state of projection, okay, my energy will just go and answer your projection. And probably face yourself, you know. Oh, by the way, I'm not bragging about what I can do. I'm telling you the possibilities. I'm using my personal experience to inspire you. So if you're passionate enough to be an influence to your immediate world, you can make that choice. And the city is Miraya. And if you wanted to go crazy, it's Shruti Miraya. Okay? But let's start with Miraya. Everything is interconnected without limits. And nothing can bound your consciousness only to you. Your consciousness goes as it flows. Okay? And Shruti Miraya just means transmigration unlimited. Or, you know, interconnected infinitely. This is just small talk while people connect and we get together. So I made that choice. And sometimes what I receive is some wave of anger from nowhere. And sometimes I receive various levels of love, friendship, desires, abandonment. Oh, I miss the seminars. Yes. Seminars is not just to see Maha, but it's part of it when it's seminars with me. So Miraya, I'm continuing with last week's class on Miraya because we have a Miraya this week too in the mantra. Practicing the Arbatel and the seeds of truth and dedicating myself to a path of personal growth. Your faith, your shraddha, your power of trust in evolution has to be profound, well rooted inside you. That you will accept waves to come in and out of your consciousness and in your energy. With a lot of practice and the more you exist as a soul, the less human things matter. These waves, they come and they go. And it's okay. Friday after a class, I usually feel like shit. Happy, but crappy. You're happy of what you learn after a class. And as those who join us who cannot see me live, they watch the video later and a bit Saturday, but mostly Friday. I feel the waves of consciousness keep rolling. And what it awoke in you, not with precision, but as noise. So if you ever go deeply into opening your consciousness to a permanent transmigration, be warned, at least, that it will affect your mood. When the majority of people you are in contact with at one point are unhappy. Okay? I don't become unhappy when others are unhappy, but I can feel it as a radiation. It's unpleasant. I focus on faith. There's no other option. Okay. So you, as a therapist, as a guide, if that is your path, remember that if you don't practice basic practice, 5 elements is still my option since the beginning. If you don't do little basic things, it will tire you. Okay? And if you're not a therapist or a spiritual master yourself, don't pretend. Don't play the game. Use your resource for yourself and be kind locally, one person at a time. The transmigration will happen. I'm just saying, don't wish to always be transmigrating with everyone until you're ready to face what it means. Okay? Last week's mantra, Om Miraya Miraya Swaha. I practice it a lot, but I forgot the mudra. Oh yeah, it's the rock and roll without the ring mudra. Okay. The new one's easy. It's like, this is the rock and roll without the pinky, and this is like the rock and roll also, right? Like, yay, I'm going to a party. Okay. So this is the one of this week. Pranaha Miraya. So there's a Miraya again, yes, because we're continuing on the teaching of the emancipated transmigration. Om Miraya Miraya Swaha frees you from many limitations and many levels. And as it radiates in the world, and the more virtuous you are, of course, the more boundaries in human life seems to fall away. It won't allow you to go against the law. And even if it would, you should not. You should respect your society as much as you can out of choice, not out of submission. Do you understand? It's very wise to keep the balance of powers and not upset society. It's important, okay? Because then there's no harmony. Trust evolution. We all grow and progress. And as the people progress, the whole of society elevates. It's how it works. Revolutions, they throw everything down, including you. Okay. Revolutions hurt the revolting more than anything else. And most of the time, it does not really upset the system. Well, it doesn't change it much. The true revolution is so much changes are done as a soul that collectively there's no way for humans to oppress us anymore. And the entire society evolves. The proof that this works is look at how awesome is our world. Just 300 years ago, a boss could beat an employee in the business, and the employee would submit because he would lose his job. Poverty is worse than violence. War used to kill millions of people, and now a war kills thousands. So from millions to a few thousands, it's a great progress. I'm still not in favor of war, but I can see that our methods progress. It works. Evolution works. So keep at it. Do personal growth. And when you do Miraya Miraya, or when you stay free as a being, but responsible as a human, everything flows. If a system in our day and age, a political system or a society, threatens its citizen with weapons, there should be a revolution. I'm not talking about cops with guns. I mean, I'm talking about forcing someone to vote with a carabine pointed at them. Okay? Like it happened in Iraq 30 years ago or something. Okay? This is the kind of system that needs really to change, to evolve. But most of the world is really good now. Just keep doing it. Trust evolution. And yes, there are problems to resolve. So keep at it. It works. Good. Going back to the topic of conscious choice of permanent transmigration, don't do that choice until you are really strong inside. Okay? Has nothing to do with your vibhava. You can be a Buddha and still have a fragile nature, or it's just not your thing. Miraya allows a permanent state of consciousness of interaction, but it doesn't open the door to everyone to put their trash in. Okay? So one step at a time. Om Pranaham Miraya. I believe this is number 17. We are at number 17. Okay. This is today's teaching. Well, I mean, today's teachings is all today's teaching. But this is the seal of this week. Okay. This is my left hand, regardless of how the video shows it to you. This is my left hand. 3 center finger go down. And I'm not forcing to keep up. You can relax the fingers, but they should not be crunched. Okay? So just put it without force. It's just bring them down and touch the skin. Okay? So grounding, but solidifying. This is solidifying mudra. With your mind and your body functional, everything else solidifies and ground. Okay? Pranaha is not the word pranaha. There's a difference between pranaha and pranaha. Okay? A. Usually, I do not make a distinction between the strong A and the normal A in Sanskrit. Because for us who are not used to it, A is a single letter. But in Sanskrit, there's 2 A. There's the A and the O. Okay? Pranaha. The word means cement. Pranaha is a conjugation of the verb breathe or an expression about the energy in the air. Pranaha. Pranaha is cement. We must avoid the confusion of today's cement. Today, cement means a big block, solid. 2,000 years ago or more, cement was not these big blocks. It is the stuff you put between bricks of mud, of dried mud, to hold it together. So cement is still today the stuff you put between bricks. Okay. But it is also, it can be molded in highways and make skyscrapers. Okay, cement is a product. In the past, cement was anything that can glue 2 solid things together. Okay? So, Miraya, Swaha, is a field of expansion with no limit. And then you can let yourself fall out of your own body if you want. Not so unlike an astral projection, but without the health problems that could result. Okay, just Miraya, let yourself be in interaction with all consciousness that you're in touch with. Pranaha Miraya, strongly bounded together, and still that freedom of interaction. One of the arrogant use of Miraya Miraya is that you stop caring for others in society. You could start thinking, but I'm free. I don't need to respect the rules of society. But I'm free. You can't stop me. But you're the one infringing in other people's property. Okay? Miraya Miraya is beautiful and it is compassionate. But it can be arrogantly used as disrespect. Or to lose the need of calendars or responsibilities. Okay? That's the misuse of Miraya Miraya. By itself, it simply suggests that you cannot be bounded against your will at any level. However, it could be used mischievously. Pranaha Miraya, cemented, structures still hold. And Pranaha actually asks you to focus on being a responsible part of the whole that you are infinitely interacting with. Om Pranaha Miraya Swaha. You are not bounded by your structures. You are responsible thanks to your structures. So there's a gratitude for the systems in place in society, in your own house. It's a gratitude for the internet. It's a gratitude for the system of distributing electricity. It's a gratitude for the system of paying income taxes on your revenue so that the teachers and the doctors of your society can be paid. It's a gratitude for the system and a sense of profound responsibility while you remain in the Miraya state of absolute freedom. It gives you great power, great strength. What was the completely insane way of writing it? The advantage. I remember it was something about having authority. Okay. So, Om Pranaha Miraya Swaha, they say it is for commanding people, for commanding men and women. Why do they need to say men and women? Because it was a machist society that you could always command women, always. But commanding men was harder. So commanding men and women meant you can give orders to anyone you want. Okay, that is a very arrogant way of saying that will give you a promotion in society. This is not the use. Okay, but that's what they dream of, those who wrote those mantras. So it makes you in charge of society. No, it makes you embrace responsibilities. Okay. But it also makes you rooted. The true benefit of that mantra is it gives you a place in the world. Oh, and don't arrogantly use my wisdom. I will find a place in the world. No, you won't. Okay? Your place is your akasha. No one can rob you of it. But it can make society accept you as much as you accept it. So if you're in a revolution, You don't accept society, you're asking to be rejected by society. That's what revolt does. It revolts against you. So as much as you have compassion and patience while problems are still not resolved, and accept society and trust evolution, the more society will embrace you. And your freedom in society kicks in. Your miraya happens. Pranaha, as you embrace your part of the system. Oh my God, that sounds like some corporation, government level propaganda. Embrace your place of the system. Big brother needs you and you will be cared for. Okay, be careful. We're talking about a lesson for the soul here, okay? Grounding yourself in this world and ground yourself in your society. If it is not actively trying to murder you, making change progressively from within, and don't revolt, okay? And it is a lesson of the soul to be grateful for the systems in place, for the benefits it brings you, and that society will reflect that to you. Your karma, your dharma, and your prakti are energies that will flow into the world and make society treat you in the way you treat it. And that won't give you the right to command people. That's a dream in the past, that then they cannot order me around, so I'm the one ordering them around. Okay? No, it means that nothing will come and oppress you. At least it's an influence, that you cannot be oppressed. And you will maintain all the freedom that you desire in this society. Your miraya will be preserved as you are virtuous. And your pranaha will solidify you as you responsibly take charge of your role in society. It's a hard one to accept sometimes, especially when you are a conspiracy theorist. And of course, no one will admit to be a conspiracy theorist. Of course not. Everyone will say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, the system is really doing this and that. And then, you just don't have the tinfoil hat, but you have all these theories. I'm going to make a parenthesis here that will make it even harder for us to integrate it. 50 years after the death of a president, I'm not sure about these information in numerical precision, but it's what I remember. So 50 years after the death of a president, it is acceptable in America, but in most countries also, to open the files that were sealed for historical reasons. And most crazy conspiracy theories of the 1920s and 1930s in America, and the most awful conspiracy theory happened to be true. And that's why there's so many conspiracists that speak of the chemtrails in the sky when they see a plane, that it's chemicals that they drop. No, it's not. A plane today with big jet engine leaves traces of humidity because it gives a shock to the condensation, okay? But in the 1920s and 30s, there were no jet engine. It was planes with, I forgot the English word, hélice in French, okay? So it was rotors. It was rotor propulsed planes at lower altitude, which should not leave traces, but they did leave traces because they were dropping chemicals in the atmosphere above people to test the effect on their health and, basically almost genocide sometime. It was completely insane. So yeah, the chemtrail people who say that jets, the traces behind are chemical trails, they are not. But in the time that planes did not leave trails, when they left trails, it was actually chemicals being dumped, and that came out. Also, the pharmaceutical industry would actively put chemicals in toothpaste to see the effect on the health. And if it was noticeable, they would remove the product, okay? There's like 20 absolutely insane. You can put racism in there, what they did to black people in the time just to test human subjects. Yeah, so yes, there have been conspiracies that are the most unbelievable that were confirmed to be true. And of course, when that information comes out, the government tries to settle it down, say, hey, let's not spread that, because all the conspiracies of today will be worst, So there are conspiracies, conspiracy theories that we have today that will be shown to be true in 50 or 100 years. But most won't. Most are just idiotic suggestions, okay? However, you have, I don't want to tell you conspiracy theories don't exist. Some of them are actually true. But knowing that, you have to embrace the system as it is. I don't want to tell you, embrace the system, there is no threat. No. I want to tell you, regardless of the possible conspiracies, large scale, humiliate yourself, to be humble, be simple as a human, and do your best in the system that you have, and trust evolution. So this is what Pranaha says. Embrace your role the best you can. Work as much as you can, but not as much as you could hurt yourself. Don't go against your health. Just, be a strong person with faith. Not faith in the system, faith in evolution. I'm going to get my vaccine shot in a few days. There's tons of conspiracies about if you should get the vaccines or not. I'm not anti-vax, and I'm not against anti-vax. Those who don't want it, it's okay. Where I live in Canada, they're very strict with these things. We will have a paper that says if we had our 2 doses, and eventually if we don't have our 2 shots of COVID vaccine, we will not be able to go to certain places. No restaurants, no cinema, no public places at all, not even without a mask. When most people get their 2 shots, they will say, good. 2 shots, don't have to wear a mask, can go back to airports, can travel around the world. And those who don't believe in the vaccine or are afraid of them, they won't have their paper. So that is super big brother control. So it doesn't matter what I believe about the vaccines, because my society says you must have it to function. Shoot me right here. Plug me. I'm good. I'm going to practice the 5 elements. I'm going to practice Shraddha, the siddhi, but also the virtue in a state of being. I love to live, so my body will face whatever difficulties can come from the side effects. And I embrace it. That is my pranaha. That is me, regardless of my beliefs and opinions, accepting this is what the system does. I can still function in that system. Although I'm not American, I was not trained to hate vaccines. When children get vaccine in my country, it's one at a time, sometimes two. Americans sometimes get 24 vaccines at the same time. Like, it's completely insane. Of course you have anti-vax people in America because it just destroys the system. It's too much. In Canada, it's always one at a time, sometimes two. It's not too aggressive. So we were not trained to hate the vaccine world. And we don't have a fraction of the vaccines Americans have. So maybe that's why Americans are so anti-vax. Because the pharmaceutical industry sell it at a high price and so much that it affects the body of children growing. So it's not pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine. It's how the industry uses it, you know, and how it affects the health of the people. In any case, I trust my body can handle a vaccine. If I have a fever, I'll be happy because it means my body is working, I'm fighting it, and that the vaccine works. It's okay. It's just the long-term side effect that I don't want. So I trust that I have supernatural abilities to regenerate, and I accept that I will eventually grow old and die of something. Faith in evolution. Embrace life as it is. So you see, I didn't tell you my real profound beliefs about vaccines. It doesn't matter. Pranaha is me accepting my system, and my system will accept me. And my miraya will be preserved. I'll be free to do whatever I want. But this will expand and even affect people who would be unhappy with me. They will just go away. Obstacles will be removed, like if Ganesh is in front of me, making the way. That is the power of pranaha miraya. It frees you in very, very deeply, in the very core structure of your system. It brings that freedom in direct proportion to your compassion to the system and your sense of responsibility. I hope this class was informative about the integrations you have to do. And if you have revolt in your mind and in your heart, you will see it rise and you have to work through it. Keep in mind you don't have to agree with everything I say. These are just suggestions of things you should look at. But if you ask me how to become powerful in this world, don't fight this world. If it's not trying to kill you, work from the inside with care, with love, and pay your taxes, and work as much as you need, as long as it doesn't kill you or hurt you. Okay? This is a supernatural ability, where your soul will flow so much in the system because you love your system and you participate to it. It's difficult in a system that doesn't really care for you. So for people in America, it's half and half. You know, your system cares for you, but abuses a bit. But there's a lot of good for the Americans who listen. In Europe, especially in Spain, the last time I heard, there's economic difficulty, so your system is doing its best, and sometimes it's a bit harsh. But I've got news of a friend who was abused of a big sum of money, and the system just says, we're going to drop this and forget it. You are not being sued by the country. It was an abuse, of course, but his power of trust, of faith, just cleared his life. So I'm very happy for my friend who who could face that? But usually in Spain, it's hard. I'm not talking about this. Spain still cares for the system. It gives you vaccine if you want it, and doctors and teachers who teach your kid. I'm talking about Somalia and Venezuela, places with an actual system that sometimes tries to kill you. That's what I mean. Like, this is a problematic system. If you're better than this, if your system is not a third world, you're good. All right? You're good. Keep being happy as much as you can in your system and trust evolution. Okay? Good. Left hand, right hand with the mana. And be careful not to fall into the pranaha, but stay pranaha. But it's kind of acceptable, because what matters is you got the classes and that's your attention. So we're not all Sanskrit speaking. We have different accents. Okay. Om pranaha miraya swaha. 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 Om Pranahamiraya 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 Swaha. Oh, I wanted to give this class always about conspiracy theories. I love to say some of them are true. I don't want to say conspiracies don't exist. I want to say some of them are true, and regardless, don't play the conspiracy game. Be simple. Embrace what is going on now. Try your best. Don't be carried away with theories that you can't demonstrate. What is the best you can do with the information you have now? And that doesn't mean that I'm in favor of every single vaccine. No. It means that I embrace what my society needs me to do. And so many people had no effect, and hopefully no long term, but had no effect from the vaccine, even from the AstraZeneca that is supposedly wrong. Statistically, there's 100 times more health dangers for young women when they take contraception pills than those who take the AstraZeneca vaccine. Although I do hope to get another brand that has even less known effects. But still, I'm not carried away by the fear. I'm practicing the supernatural regeneration, and I want my body to develop a strong immune system to defeat any COVID that would come. And I want to have my little paper to show society that I respect it and I flow. Okay, so that's my. Even then, there's a bit of opinion not said, but I'm not anti-vax at all, and I'm not pro-vax either. Okay. Another thing, something unrelated. The money that you can give to my member section, it helps me to live. I have a project that I want to do quality 3D art for the mask of the ego, the mantras we use, every practice we do over the time. That costs money to do that. That can cost me up to $100 of 3D assets and software to make. And I need a better machine so I can walk. It takes me 5 days to make an image. With a better machine, it could cost me 2 days. Okay, because there's a lot of time waiting for the computer to slowly update. Okay, so I have another member section in my voido.net website. I want to tell you this is absolutely in no way anything that I need from you. If you're following my classes and you're paying the minimum to my member section on mahavajra.com, you are helping me live. And that is good enough. So please do not feel obliged to participate to any other thing. But if you do agree, it would be fun to have images for the Mask of the Ego, the 21 lights also that I will do after, and the mantra practice, and maybe having some divinities, my version of Shiva, Ganesh, and whoever else. You can participate by going to voido.net, and you can help me with $3 per month just to help me pay the material for the 3D art, okay? But it is extremely optional, and don't feel that it's something that you owe your spiritual master or whatever. No. This is an artist trip, and it will benefit the Mahajriya, of course, Okay, but don't worry about it. Okay, but I wanted to say it. On voido.net, you can go and help me to do this art, because it needs money to do it, and I'm using my personal money when I can, so it's slow. All right, it was cool. Rock on. And yeah, embrace your responsibilities.